The Xiong'An New Area, a project with a claimed investment of 30 trillion yuan, began construction in 2017. After 8 years, recent street views posted on social media reveal an eerie scene. The wide roads are almost deserted, with scarcely a person or vehicle in sight, even after driving for tens of kilometers. Malls and restaurants, places that should be bustling, are eerily quiet, and the grand, imposing high-speed rail station is completely empty. Despite the appearance of new developments, new homes, parks, roads, renovated waterways, and fresh construction sites, the overwhelming sense of emptiness makes the area feel like a modern-day ghost city, completely devoid of life.
雄安新区这次可能是让我们失望了。
Xiong'An New Area has been such a disappointment. It's been under construction for 8 years, but it hasn't lived up to the promises made at the start. The project was supposed to involve a 30 trillion yuan investment, but so far only 1 trillion yuan has been spent. It was planned to be a fully developed city within 10 years, but only 8 state-owned enterprises have relocated so far. Out of the more than 40 planned top-tier hospitals, only 7 have come, and out of the 17 universities that were supposed to move, only 4 have actually relocated. Even the rule about not being able to buy and sell houses has been scrapped. Now, regular people like us can buy homes here. Everyone's wondering if this means the government has stopped supporting the area's development. What's unfolding in Xiong'An seems to mock the efforts of China's leader, Xi Jinping, who personally initiated and promoted the project. Yet the media continues to emphasize that the development was personally decided, deployed, and advanced by Xi Jinping. Such coverage almost seems like a deliberate embarrassment. Perhaps to avoid further awkwardness or due to a shift in the local leadership's thinking, the Xiong'An government has recently lifted the housing purchase restrictions. The news immediately caused a stir online, with many people taken aback.
谁能想得到，雄安新区
Who would have thought? Xiong'An New Area has lifted its home buying restrictions. Now, even people from outside the region can buy homes here. The houses in Xiong'An are developed by state-owned and central enterprises. They're move-in ready, fully furnished, and come with complete facilities, schools, top-tier hospitals, malls, subways, and shopping centers. In the past, people who wanted to buy a home in Xiong'An couldn't, so they ended up buying in places like Baigou or Bazhou, and even those weren't cheap. Now that Xiong'An has lifted restrictions, people are kicking themselves for missing out.
So was home buying in Xiong'An restricted before? Yes, strict conditions were previously applied. Buyers had to meet criteria, such as holding employment contracts with specific organizations, contributing to social insurance for a certain period, or having a Beijing household registration or talent certificate. With so many hurdles, hardly anyone could buy a home there. People couldn't help but wonder, what were policymakers thinking? There are so many empty homes, yet they still put restrictions in place. Many found these decisions completely puzzling. Those eligible to buy, mainly Beijing residents, weren't interested, even if homes were offered for free. Meanwhile, those wanting to buy lacked the qualifications. This paradox left Xiong'An's housing market stagnant, with countless homes unsold. At night, its well-lit, expansive streets remained empty, and towering buildings stand dark and unoccupied. Xiong'An New Area, China's first national-level district established via a notice from the CCP's Central Committee and the State Council, was officially founded on April 1, 2017. State media Xinhua described it as a millennium project and a national priority, emphasizing Xi Jinping's direct involvement in its planning and development. Yet this narrative, some say, carries a hint of irony. The Chinese government planned to invest 30 trillion yuan to build Xiong'An into a city of the future. It was intended to house relocated non-capital functions of Beijing, such as universities, hospitals, and state-owned enterprises, aiming to become a secondary capital. The first phase was designed to accommodate 1 million residents, the second phase 10 million, and the long-term goal 20 million. As of October 2024, Chinese state media reported that Xiong'An's developed area spans 190 square kilometers, with 4,251 buildings constructed, totaling 45.2 million square meters of floor space. Cumulative investments have reached 790 billion yuan, accounting for just 2.6% of the 30 trillion target. Some local residents say that over the past 8 years, construction projects have often started and stopped. When higher-level officials come for inspections, work resumes. Once the officials leave, the projects stop again. Despite this, rows of new buildings and wide roads have been completed. However, these wide roads are almost empty, with just a few pedestrians and barely any vehicles. Cities are not uncommon in China, but Xiong'an's housing vacancy rate stands out, earning it the nickname the Ghost City of Ghost Cities. Suggestions for repurposing the unused buildings have surfaced. Some propose raising pigs in the empty homes, while others suggest using them as storage for funeral urns, given the high cost of cemetery plots. Now that Xiong'an has lifted its housing purchase restrictions, will people rush to buy homes there? Many remain skeptical about the future of Xiong'an's housing market. Some have remarked that they wouldn't live in Xiong'an even if the homes were free. They note that, unlike national leaders, ordinary people have to work to make a living. Without jobs, having a house alone is not enough to sustain life in Xiong'an. An ex-user named Ray Sheng-Fan shared a post outlining 4 reasons why people are not buying homes in Xiong'an. First, income levels are too low, making even cheap homes unaffordable or unsustainable to maintain. Second, the geography and landscape of Xiong'an are unsuitable for a city designed to house a population of over 1 million in the long term. Third, even if homes are purchased now, the lack of further investment from major corporations or private enterprises will lead to a decline in quality of life. Finally, given the current economic climate, Xiong'an is likely to become a running joke for the public over the next 30 years. Xiong'an New Area is a flagship project personally initiated by President Xi Jinping. It was built to the highest standards. Xiong'an features zero-carbon energy supplies, a 10G network, charging robots, smart streetlights, and autonomous buses. However, some observers suggest that leaders may have overlooked the challenges of operational costs and long-term sustainability. The infrastructure in Xiong'an is remarkably advanced. The high-speed rail station and the city's computing center are notable examples. The Xiong'an high-speed rail station cost over 30 billion yuan and is touted as the largest such station in Asia. Its construction area is larger than 60 standard football fields, with solar panels integrated into its design for power generation. Despite the grand scale and luxurious design, the station handles only 23 train stops and approximately 2,000 passengers daily. Meanwhile, the surrounding area is overgrown with weeds, giving it a neglected appearance.
Here we are in the waiting area. Above us, there are 2 large screens displaying the train schedules. In the middle, there's a seating area with rows of chairs. Over there is an information desk. The waiting room is really spacious.
The city's computing center is the world's first digital infrastructure built alongside urban development. It began operating in December 2022 and has already received 1.1 billion yuan in investment. The facility spans 40,000 square meters, with plans to house 3,600 server racks, offering up to 2 million virtual CPUs and 900 petabytes of storage. The center supports projects like the Xiong'an Cloud Platform as a supercomputing system. A technician at Xiong'an Cloud Network Technology explained, "We manage over 20 billion data points on urban operations. Every building, road, pipeline, and even every steel beam has a digital twin model on our network platform." Some still question whether such an expensive computing center in an empty city is meant to bolster appearances or drive genuine research. Xiong'an is also equipped with high-end facilities, including parks, hospitals, and subways. Everything is built to be modern and impressive. But despite the polished infrastructure, why are organizations designated for relocation from Beijing unwilling to move? These include universities and hospitals affiliated with central government ministries, headquarters of state-owned enterprises, and financial institutions. For years, this question has seemingly stumped even President Xi Jinping. To address the issue, Xi personally visited Xiong'an to bolster support for the project and encourage these organizations to relocate. On May 10, 2023, Xi Jinping, accompanied by Premier Li Qiang and 3 other Politburo Standing Committee members, inspected Xiong'an New Area. The visit was unprecedented in scale and widely seen as a response to rumors of unfinished projects in the area. During the visit, Xi warned, personal preferences cannot dictate decisions. If relocation is required, it must happen. No paper relocations or disguised returns will be allowed. Organizations cannot claim to relocate but maintain operations in Beijing, nor can they establish secondary departments in Beijing while claiming to downsize. Chinese state media reported that since 2022, many institutions and enterprises on the relocation list have responded to the leader's call by registering in Xiong'an. However, people familiar with the situation say these registrations are largely symbolic, just putting up signs or opening offices while staff remain in Beijing. This appears to be a classic example of compliance in name only. A month after Xi Jinping's inspection of Xiong'an, the then party secretary and governor of Hebei province traveled to Beijing to seek support from central institutions and enterprises. Their goal was to bring more projects to Xiong'an new area and accelerate progress on existing ones. Commentator Li Lingyi remarked that the situation, with Hebei officials pleading for cooperation, suggests internal resistance within the Communist Party to Xi's earlier directive for Beijing-based institutions to relocate to Xiong'an. To align with Xi's vision, the Ministry of Education issued a directive for some Beijing universities to move to Xiong'an. However, most institutions stated that they would not abandon their existing campuses in Beijing. Even if they establish branches in Xiong'an, a complete relocation is unlikely. Political commentator Wen Zhao noted that Xi's visit to Xiong'an was meant to ensure that construction hadn't stalled. In China, centralized government control has fostered a system where think tanks and media form interconnected networks of influence. He argued that Beijing's issues stem from the concentration of power, where the administrative center doubles as the hub for economic opportunities. Xi blames the influx of people to Beijing, but fails to recognize the underlying systemic issues. Wen described the belief that building a new city would resolve Beijing's problems as a misdiagnosis with the wrong prescription. Experts have pointed out that Xiong'an New Area is a political project that disregards market principles and social development trends, making it susceptible to becoming an unfinished endeavor. The Financial Times has referred to Xiong'an as Xi's pet project. The decision to place the new area in Hebei province appears to reflect Xi's personal will, even though official assessments claim the location was rigorously evaluated. Chinese geographer Lu Dadao criticized the site selection, stating it contradicts the eastward flow of economic factors in China. He noted that Beijing, the so-called mother city of Xiong'an, shows little inclination to relocate economic and technological resources to the area. Moreover, Hebei lacks a major economic powerhouse to lead the province's growth. Another challenge is that even if Xiong'an is well built, convincing people to give up their Beijing household registrations in favor of relocating is unrealistic. Retaining Beijing residency would render Xiong'an merely a workplace, while people's lives remain centered in Beijing. A Beijing household registration provides access to key benefits like employment, education, healthcare, and retirement services, all of which significantly influence the quality of life. In a society where resources are concentrated around power centers, Beijing residents profit disproportionately. Estimates suggest that a Beijing household registration alone is worth over 2 million yuan. The reality is that regional development cannot be achieved through a leader's directive alone. Reluctance to move to Xiong'an also stems from its geographic disadvantages. Water management expert Wang Weiluo, based in Germany, pointed out that Xiong'an is located in the lowest lying area of the North China Plain. Much of that area is below the annual floodwater level, let alone the level of major floods. Raising the land by 3 to 4 meters would be necessary to mitigate this risk. Additionally, Xiong'an suffers from severe water scarcity. Deputy Director of the Chinese Ministry of Ecology and Environment's Planning Institute, Wang Jinnan, noted that with an additional population of 1 million, the city would face an annual water supply gap of 264 million cubic meters. Given these natural challenges, why was Xiong'an chosen as the site for a secondary capital? Locals suggest several reasons. One theory is that Xi believes in feng shui, and Xiong'an's location aligns with Beijing's control over regional water sources to enhance its dragon energy. The name Xiong'an itself conveys a sense of grandeur, symbolizing Xi's ambitions to dominate. Another explanation points to Xi's familial ties. His grandmother's family is from Baoding's Gaoyang County, close to Shong County and Anxin County. Additionally, Xiong'an's economy is underdeveloped, making it cheaper to relocate residents and rebuild. Finally, Xi may have an affinity for Baiyangdian Lake, because after all, northern China lacks water. Critics argue that China's so-called experts often serve as sycophants. Once Xi decided on Xiong'An, planners, environmental assessors, and other specialists focused solely on proving the wisdom of his decision. These experts played what Lenin called the role of useful idiots, endorsing the project while ignoring its feasibility. The decision to build a new city and shift non-capital functions away from Beijing reflects Xi Jinping's own reasoning. Beijing's overcrowding, caused by an influx of low-income migrant workers, has led to water shortages, pollution, and traffic congestion. These workers, often seen as unkempt, are perceived to tarnish the capital's polished image. However, critics point out that without these workers, who would construct skyscrapers, collect garbage, deliver parcels, or perform other essential jobs that wealthier residents avoid? In 2017, then Beijing Party Secretary Cai Qi, eager to align with Xi's policies, launched a campaign to expel over 100,000 so-called low-end population residents from the city's outskirts, citing safety concerns. Another motivation behind Xiong'An's construction was to create a monumental project symbolizing the Great New Era. Much like Shenzhen is synonymous with Deng Xiaoping's reforms, Xi aims for Xiong'An to be associated with his leadership and serve as a symbol of national prosperity and strength. Believing his contributions surpassed Deng's, Xi envisioned Xiong'An surpassing Shenzhen in scale and impact. One reason behind the construction of Xiong'An New Area is Xi Jinping's ambition to create a landmark project reflecting the grandeur of the Great New Era. However, critics argue that Xiong'An is a typical vanity project, visually impressive but lacking practical appeal. They suggest that for institutions to truly relocate, Zhongnanhai, the central government headquarters, would need to move first. As long as Beijing remains the seat of power, organizations tied to the capital will resist relocation. Many believe that Xiong'An is destined to become yet another unfinished project. This fate is not unique to Xiong'An. Many large-scale projects in China have ended up as incomplete or underutilized endeavors. For instance, the eastern route of the South-North Water Diversion Project cost 63.4 billion yuan. According to official reports, its water utilization rate is only 6%, effectively wasting most of the investment. China's high-speed rail network, the largest in the world at approximately 48,000 kilometers, is another example. Numerous stations remain unused, earning the nickname ghost stations. Many rail lines operate at significant losses due to low profitability. The Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, built at a cost of over 120 billion yuan, also suffers from minimal traffic, leading residents to call it the Ghost Bridge. Over the years, Xi has pushed for numerous major projects, many of which have fallen short of their goals. This has led some to nickname him the Emperor of Unfinished Projects. Among the most criticized are the 10 trillion yuan chip initiative, the Belt and Road Initiative, and Xiong'An New Area. The CHIP initiative began in 2014, with 3 phases of funding totaling hundreds of billions of yuan. Tens of thousands of companies were established, but most failed, resulting in massive losses. In 2023 and 2024 alone, over 24,000 chip companies went bankrupt. The Belt and Road Initiative, aimed at expanding China's influence in developing countries, has faced growing backlash. Accusations of corruption, environmental destruction, and labor disputes have sparked protests in many countries. Nations like Sri Lanka have been pushed to the brink of bankruptcy due to the heavy debts incurred. Other incomplete projects under Xi's leadership include the Beijing Stock Exchange, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, the Made in China 2025 initiative, the Thousand Talents program, real estate reforms, poverty alleviation efforts, supply-side reforms, carbon reduction plans, and the establishment of 21 free trade zones. Some dissidents refer to Xi Jinping as the accelerator-in-chief, suggesting that his policies are hastening the collapse of the CCP. They believe his initiatives are depleting China's financial and social resources, accelerating the regime's decline. As one critic remarked, it turns out Xi Jinping is the #1 anti-communist after all.